Hi there, you're with English Coach today, and I'm here to ask a critical question. And that question is, why be a critical thinker? And what is good about critical thinking? My first question is, why be a critical thinker? And for that, I have a few different answers, some of which could be relevant to you in your life if you're interested. The first answer that I'd like to give you is critical thinking seems to be perhaps the best way of living a safer and more healthy life in terms of being able to look at your immediate environment, your form of employment, your relationships around you, and make great observations and decisions based on those observations allows you to avoid a lot of pain. And in some cases, life doesn't give us that choice. So when we give ourselves the choice to avoid pain through critical thinking, we often live a better life. Okay? That's one of the biggest reasons I'd say that you should really understand and find out what is critical thinking and how can I apply it in my life to my everyday routine and reality. So perhaps now that I've told you that, you could be starting to get a little curious about what exactly is a critical thinker and how exactly does a critical thinker think? Well, I want to go through about 6 points with you today and tell you a little bit about how a critical thinker thinks, okay? And then at the end, I'll conclude with something you might find quite useful, okay? So if you're on my channel now, don't forget to subscribe, like, and enjoy all of my videos. But let's get right into it. So the first thing that I'd like to share with you today is the understanding or the forming of a logical connection between ideas. So we see a lot of things, a lot of information, a lot of news reports, a lot of a lot of uh, crazy events happening in our world, and it seems that none of them are exactly connected. That most of them are separate and completely random. And in some cases, that's absolutely true, but in most cases, that's absolutely false. And that there are connections between the things happening in our immediate environment, that is, in our house, and in our world. The things we can affect or impact are inside our houses and our lives, and the things that we cannot really impact as much, which are on the news. Okay? So for this video, I would like you to focus on your immediate environment and looking for connections between the things going on in your immediate environment, in your life, in your job, in your relationships. The second part is to separate your own opinion of the facts from the event itself. So obviously, something may have happened in the last month that upset you, and you would like to get to the bottom of it. But how do you do that if you cannot separate your own emotional reflection of that event or your own emotional interference on that event? Well, the answer is here that you really cannot. You cannot do it when you have that emotional or experiential interference that's telling you that the reason this happened is X, Y, or Z, when in fact you're not seeing the event clearly through your eyes, completely unbiasedly. And so building that skill should remind you that everybody on this earth 99.9% of us, those who don't have that superpower of separating our own feelings, emotions, and experiences from fact, need to take at least 1 hour or 2 hours to question ourselves and say, oh, maybe I'm looking at this from a personal point of view. And then start separating or taking away the pieces of your argument that are connected on to something that happened to you or something that belongs to your feelings or emotions. Okay? So that's the second point. Being able to separate the facts from the experiences, from the emotions, and describe in non-emotive words exactly what happened in that event in a concrete way and not how it made you feel. Okay? Number 3, being able to engage in reflective thinking and independent thinking that doesn't incorporate your personal experience again, but allows you to practice extremely clever observation. Now, this could be for things that are less affecting you in a negative way or a positive way, but things that you see outside of yourself, things that you see in your community, things that you observe and say, wow, I wonder why people have this behavior or have that behavior. I wonder why this part of the city has been graffitied and people have left trash everywhere. And I wonder why this part of the city is being well looked after. And then, without digging into your own experience and your own feelings, making observations from the point of view of the streets, of the city, articles in the newspaper, articles online, and making your own deep, rich survey and fantastic, intelligent questions from there. Okay? This can also be used in your professional life a lot by being able to analyze opportunities and analyze areas where you don't have opportunities that are not realistic for you. Really incorporating that clever observation and not personal feelings and not personal experiences, which do tend to scar us. Okay? The next point is number 4, and that's the ability to reason as an active learner rather than some kind of high authority or passive recipient of the information. So that means that you are completely interactive with what's going on. You're interactive with the facts that you're facing right now. It means if you're watching something happening, whether it be a presidential election or the vaccines for the coronavirus, you are taking each news report and you're breaking it down and you're really learning. So you're learning from the perspective of what's going on at this point, what is absolutely confirmed, what is not confirmed, and also when you're in a personal situation, for example, some kind of conflict among friends, among family, you take things in a step-by-step manner to be able to understand exactly where this conflict or this problem is going, which would or potentially could give you more power in directing its resolution. Okay. Number 5, critical thinkers are not people that just come to conclusions. So notice a lot of the people around us, most human beings, see a problem and they say, well, this problem can be explained as Y or X or Z. There you go. I've finished it. I've concluded it. Now let me hear my applause. Now, the problem with that is we tend to observe things at a first-hand situation or at first we tend to observe things in a slightly erroneous way. We need to follow more than one observation. We need to ask many questions before we can start forming a hypothesis. Remember that critical thinking is scientific thinking. So that means that there is a process to it, and you don't just look at a situation and conclude or summarize about what's happening. When we do that, we notice that our own personal prejudice, experiences, and emotions are participating at a higher level than our cognitive or intellectual functions. Okay? So, therefore, we need to step back and really understand what's going on. That is number 5. Critical thinkers ask more than they conclude. They form intelligent questions rather than mediocre summaries. Does it improve the end result? Always. Always. If you're asking another question, you've got another layer of insurance to whatever solution you've created. So long as your solution is based on those observational questions that you could answer, you could find were important in solving that question, whatever it was. Okay, number 5, critical thinkers are never coming to conclusions. Actually, I've already mentioned this point. Please forgive my error here because I'm not going to take this out of the video today. I'm going to go straight on to number 6. As you have just seen, I've made a bit of a blunder here and I've repeated number 5. Let's go to number 6. Critical thinkers will tend to solve problems more definitively because their solutions are based on solid arguments rather than intuition and instinct. So a lot of us do solve our problems through intuition and instinct, which is, oh, I came to a problem and I felt with my body that the answer to this problem or this question was to act in such a way. Whereas the critical thinker will do a little bit more investigating on what exactly happened to come up with a solution that's a little more secure, as I said in number 5. Okay, solutions are based on solid arguments that you have created with very clever questions. And so intuition and instinct are not players in this game. When you're a critical thinker, you do not use intuition, you do not use instinct, you use intelligent observation, meditative reflection, and then sometimes you add another question before you even come to any kind of conclusion. Okay, just to sum up the video today, and the question is, why would you want to be a critical thinker? Well, if it wasn't already obvious to you from what I've gone through, what critical thinking allows you to do is not only avoid pain, but make smarter decisions and choices in your life. Things that can yield more fruit in terms of money, in terms of abundance, in terms of great relationships, in terms of just having a stress-free life. And if you took most of the population, maybe 80 or 90% of the population, those parts of the population that were not bent on self-destruction or sarcasm, you would probably find that 80 to 90% of the population would probably give their left foot for a life of less stress, more abundance, more security perhaps, but also less pain. I think nobody really consciously chooses pain. Pain is something that does come through our emotional response to things. It's not something based on good, clever, intelligent observation and asking of questions. It's based on conclusion and expectation, instinct, intuition, and disappointment and frustration. And so when we're not when we have not been activated to think critically, generally we come to certain conclusions early, and we can often be more dependent or expectant on those conclusions than asking the next question, which should give you a neutral area to live your life. A neutral area where you can ask another question and become even more sharper in your focus and observation. Thank you for being here with me today. This is why you should become a critical thinker, and how being a critical thinker might just save your life. Okay? Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.